to the channel. This is Fubar here, and today we're going to cover playstyles and the units used with them, and the strategies with them, and the differences between these units. Okay, so let's hop right into it. So we're going to use this tab right here, and we're going to go through it. All right, so there is your field fighting, aka support playstyle. Now, this playstyle usually utilizes a MBT, helicopter, infantry unit, rocket truck, fighter plane, mortar bomber, vanguard bomber, and the light tank. All these units, depending on if you're in a rally or not, will be used very much differently. Now, your helicopters, every unit has a different play style, and most of these units are very highly micromanagement and oriented. So, for example, the Vanguard and Martyr Heli are your pretty much your frontline brawlers on the front line of the field fighting when you're making a push with your alliance. And the reason for that is because they don't really have that speed to move around. They can, but it's much more difficult for them to do so. And they usually operate better with the support of MBTs and lights. So that way, when they are hitting an unfavorable encounter, they can back off. But whereas the Liberty Heli, like I said in the previous video, I'll talk why I chose a Liberty Heli, because before I got my ATG, I could have went Liberty or Vanguard. The speed of the Liberty Heli gets it out of most troublesome situations, but it needs to be used if in a rally with only Liberty Helis, because it will literally outpace the Vanguard and Martyr Helis, and in that it will put it in a very unfavorable situation because it will be attacking an enemy unit and it will get swarmed, and the rest of the helicopters haven't made it yet. So you got to keep that in mind. But the Liberty Heli can flank. It can go for cover any terrain like all the other helis, and it can frontline, and it can also do pretty damn well at almost everything in the game. But its playstyle is very similar to the light, and if you were going to use it, I would want to give a call out here to a player called Maxinair, who's in HBR on S12. And how he uses the light is how I actually play the Liberty Heli. And he goes in, charges up a skill, then hits his target, then backs off. And that's how you should use the Liberty Heli to minimize losses and to maximize your kills. And the same thing goes with the light tank on that area. The light tank and the Liberty Heli, and also Vanguard and Martyr, are very high micromanaged units because they are very weak to blast damage. They don't have enough armor and resistance to it, so they get shredded very easily by Martyr bombers, Vanguard bombers, and also howitzers, rocket trucks, but not ATGs. They actually do pretty well against ATGs. Now, if you catch a group of artillery out in the field that are complacent, or the rally leader's asleep, you can easily pick off an entire rally with one Liberty helicopter. Now, MBTs. Each MBT has its own role, its own play style. I would suggest the Liberty MBT for tanking bases, also chasing other units like lights, infantry. It does pretty well against infantry, but not the greatest. Usually, if you're going to use the MBT, use it to get the attention of the infantry, then have a rocket truck come up and take it out. It's very much a frontline unit, can be used to flank. It's a very well all-rounder unit. I'm sorry I don't have one to show. Now, infantry unit, very high maintenance. If I was to choose one, I would choose Liberty. But before we get into that, I just noticed I forgot to talk about the Vanguard and Martyr MBT. The Vanguard MBT is the king of the crop, in my opinion. Many people favorite, such as Kinkin from S12, Antoine Liek, another content creator, very good content creator. And the thing about the Vanguard MBT, which I can show you right here on the manuals, if you look at the MBT, it has rapid production, which means the troops will train faster. It has the higher firepower, and it also has heightened armor. So it's going to take a lot more of a beating than the Martyr and the Liberty. And it also gains siege. All the MBTs gain siege. Now, because of the fast retrain time and all of this, it is very suited for frontline battles with the Liberty. However, it's a different story when it comes to Martyr MBT. Martyr MBT gives the repairability and the siege, and it also has a higher HP. This unit has such a high durability, but it does not do as well on the front line, and it's so slow to retrain that you need to highly micromanage the Martyr MBT, because if it's destroyed, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So I don't recommend it. I actually have one on another account on S22, and I absolutely hate it because of how long it takes to retrain. But it's a very good unit, pretty decent against stacked up against the other MBTs, but that retrain time, it doesn't compete. Now, back to rocket trucks. Rocket trucks, if you have a maxed out Saber of the Nation and Antonina, this unit can be very devastating to MBTs, helicopters, infantry, light tanks, anything in its way. It'll shred through, but it's very, very low health. So therefore, you have to highly micromanage this unit, and also to trick the AI to have a faster fire rate. You need to go in and out. Like, you have to keep moving it back and forth, targeting the unit that you want to kill quickly. Over to Liberty. Back to the infantry. Infantry. So I select Liberty Infantry to be one of the best infantry units in the game. I mean, it does it. I mean, each one does good in their own way, but I think the Liberty Infantry does so good because of its passive skill of smoke screening an opponent and stunning them, that it gives them more survivability and also deals more damage in the long run, versus where the Vanguard just does more damage to armor, and the Martyr ones have a much higher damage resistance. So therefore, if I had to pick one, I would pick the Liberty because it's like the perfect balance. And the infantry is a very high micromanage unit. It can do very well at tanking structures in Cairo, but it also can do a lot of damage to tanks and other armored units, even artillery if you can sneak up on it. But the reason why it's so high micromanage is because if you are trying to, you have an infantry unit on the front line and you got a rocket truck coming in, you need to move out of its range. Luckily, you know, rocket trucks can now have up to 5 grids with Antonina and Lady Liberty stacked on it, but you can move out of that grid range fast enough. Onto the light. Now, the light tank is a very good unit. It was, for the longest time, the one of the kings of the battlefield, right up there with the mediums before moderns came out. They would take out SH, they would take out other mediums, tank hunters, artillery. Almost everyone didn't, use any other unit, and they also got free gold plus parts from the camp badges. So it was a very strong unit. And it still is a strong unit. Its AA firepower mode is not the greatest, but it's still very good. And you can use that AA fire mode to charge up your skill like Maxinator does and then hit your target. It's a very effective unit, but it's not strong against almost anything anymore. I mean, if it has high enough, if you have a high enough power over your opponent, you could definitely do some damage. But the hit and run tactics that Maxinator does, very effective. Now, how would you use this playstyle? Well, what I recommend is you pick one unit and you max that unit. You dump everything in it with the best parts and everything. Hold on, and your best officers. So I did that with my Liberty Heli. I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy about it. It's not complete yet, but it's close and it's pretty damn good. As you can see, I have the best parts available on it. I have max wrenches, max gears, and I'm only waiting on prototype pieces for it to go up to the next level. Now, once that is done being built, I'm going to focus on my rocket truck. And while the rocket truck's building, I'm building an MBT. And the reason why I'm choosing an MBT over infantry is because it's more versatile. And when you're playing as a field fighter, you need versatility. You need that flexibility. And that is the king. Now, for my Air Force, I am building currently a Vanguard 7.2 and a Marder Bomber 7.2. Again, for versatility, because I am a field fighter. I do not like base to basing, but I can base to base, but I have to be very selective and very careful. And that MBT will actually help me be able to base to base more effectively. So now we're on to the base to base players in that play style. So base to base play style, very effective. It was the main meta from day one, and it still holds strong to this day. And that would go by you need to have an SH unit or a super heavy unit, and this unit will sponge the base, and it would do very well. And its only counter was really um, light tanks that would do it because it would overpen the light tanks, and medium tanks would do pretty well against it, and also some tank hunters would as well. But the anti-tank gun was the king at taking out the super heavies. Now, other units used with a base-to-base play style was mostly people focus. And if you look at these older content creators, like again Anton Liek, I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. And you're seeing this, Antony. And Death Wish, he has also Liberty Howitzers, one of the best artilleries in the game. And the Liberty Howitzer, it has this little trick where you can modify it up, and it has such a low reload time that you can get it, I think, from 4 to 3. And you definitely, and it does higher siege damage against bases. And when you're base to basing, you want that high siege damage, but it's not as high though as the rocket truck. And the rocket truck does 350 damage under attributes that does more. I'll show you. It does 350 more structured damage in percent wise in comparison to the Liberty howitzer, where the Liberty howitzer only does 300% fortification damage, which is your structured damage. And if you look at, where is it? I know I have one. Yeah, there it is. If you look at Martyrs, Martyrs only does 250. So a lot of people, before they got onto the rocket truck meta, which was due to Old Chen, aka Vanguard, the Vanguard on YouTube, he was the one that discovered that rocket trucks were really overpowered and really strong when upgraded. So shout out to him on that because it's one of my favorite units. It's a lot of people's favorite units now. And it's very popular on L4s in Epic and Legendary. Um, but the reason why they chose the Liberty howitzer was because it was slightly more durable than the rocket truck. So usually when you're running base to base setups, it would be the super heavy three like two howitzers, an ATG, and then a tank of your choice to field fight with. And so most people would either choose the light because they automatically got the Go Plus Plus parts, or they would choose a medium. And most of the people neglected a tank hunter. Nowadays, when in the modern era, some people will still use the SH and the Liberty howitzer and a rocket truck instead of an ATG, and then they would choose either a helicopter, MBT, or a light. And there is a very specific way to fight with a base to base, and like you have one artillery covering while the SH tanks and one super powerful artillery hammering the base. And the other artillery is just waiting in case the other player is online. If he pops out an artillery to fire at your artillery, that your cover artillery will be used to attack it. And also with base to base, they usually run two Liberty bombers to three Liberty bombers just to destroy bases from a distance after they've been ever been zeroed out. And also base to base setups are very popular also for base defense. A lot of people I've seen use that, but yeah. Now on to the defensive players. This is a very simple one. Base defense players usually run two ATGs, two howitzers, a tank, and then two fighters and one bomber of their choice. And they focus primarily pushing up onto the front line, parking their base, and they're pretty much the anchor. They're gonna sit there and then they're gonna have their allies field fight around their base. So that way the enemy cannot remove them. This is very commonly done when your turret is being burnt. That guy will drop in, block that build farthest away, and then his allies will form a wall behind him and protect him. Also, to mention, base to base players usually are heavy spenders, where a field fighter, aka a support player, would be more so a light spender. I hope this brought some clarity to you guys. Currently, there's I got one extra thing for you guys that I would like to mention is a hybrid, which is what I'm working on right now. And the idea behind the hybrid actually became from Anthony Riek, and I highly recommend you check out his channel. He runs one MBT, one heli, a rocket truck, and two Liberty howitzers, and then he runs a Vanguard bomber, a Vanguard fighter, and another fighter. But I'm going to be changing it up a little bit and put my own little twist on it because I want to have a high camp buff, and I'm going to be stacking a 5 unit camp buff of Liberty and 3 of the others. Okay? So I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and comment on there. Tell me your setup. Tell me what is your favorite setup. What are you building towards? Let me know what you like and what you don't like. Okay? I hope everyone's having a great night. Thank you. Have a great day.